Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jen Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hello, everyone. Thanks and welcome for coming to our show today. This is Melanie Johnson. We're here to inspire you, motivate you, educate you, make you more successful, and have a better life in any way that we can with fabulous, incredible guests. And I'm here with my business partner from Elite Online Publishing, Jenn Foster. Hey, Jen.
Hey, everyone. How's it going today?
We're having a great day. We have a fantastic guest with us today. Her name is Natasha Miller, and being in the publishing business, we love to say Wall Street Journal best-selling author, which she is, and she's also an Inc. 5000. So, we're very impressed, Natasha. That's all I can say. And how did she get there? Let me tell you, she helps companies increase their revenue by 50%. All right, I'm just going to say that. We're going to dive into deep in how she does this and why she does this. And we all want a piece of that. Who wants to get their revenues to increase by 50%? I'm putting my hand up right now. So let's dive deep. Thanks, Natasha. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you very much for having me. I can't wait to see what unfolds.
Well, tell us, Natasha, how you got into this and tell us a little bit your journey of getting into the Inc. 5000.
It was a very strange approach. So I was a jazz vocalist with 7 CDs and touring and playing at Monterey Jazz Festival and things like that, and also a classical violinist. And really the only thing I thought I'd ever be was a performing artist, which is not a bad thing to be. But it turned into this incredible company that I started in 2001 called Entire Productions. And for the first 10 years, it was more of a lifestyle business. Then something clicked in. Basically, it was learning and education and inspiration, and honestly, being really exhausted, having performed like 3 gigs a night. One day I did 4 on a Saturday. And so Entire Productions became the company that I really doubled down and focused on.
Yeah.
And at some point about 2013, I created systems and processes that allowed us to eventually do 777 events in 1 year with 2 people in operations.
Wow.
And it was really that operating system that I created for my company that allowed for that growth, topped with incredible education. I went to the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses. Then I've since studied entrepreneurship and business at Harvard and MIT. I have mentors and advisors. So free advice, paid advice. And now I love helping entrepreneurs scale and grow their businesses. And I'm surprised at the level that some people are at where they really need this information. I can't imagine how people get to $7 million, let's say, for instance, in revenue without knowing some of the things that I teach.
That's pretty incredible. And you use that word system and processes, and that's become our mantra over the last couple of years. Do we have a system for that? Do we have a process for that? Oh, something went wrong here. Okay, let's correct whatever went wrong. Now let's create a system and a process for it. And going back and doing that.
I think everyone has a system and processes, but they may not be the best route and they may not be followed to a T, and they might diverge here and there, which makes it chaotic. And you may say to an entrepreneur, tell me about your systems and processes, and they'd be like, oh, we don't have one. They do. It just may not be healthy for their environment, and they may not have it written down in a manual and able to be repeated, which is really the important part.
I think that written down part is, what a lot of entrepreneurs have, because they just don't have someone maybe to write it down for them, and they're busy working in their business, so they can't work on their business because they're working in their business, which happens so many times. So it's great to have that and get it written down, whether with technology today, you can get it written down by just talking. So that's a good thing.
Correct.
You have to
I mean, you
slow
can-
down to go fast. It's like you have to stop, take the time to do this to go fast. Let's go into like, what are some of the strategies you start? You walk into a company, whether it has $7 million or it's trying to get to the 1 million mark. What are some of the first things you're looking for in a company and strategy you're trying to change to get to that 50% increase in revenue?
You know, there are three things, but let's go back to systems and processes, and let's go back to how does someone who's overwhelmed that can't seem to take a moment to get
Mhm.
everything down. I really highly suggest hiring a virtual assistant at the very least. You can use someone else in your company, but they're probably just as buried as you are. You can get on a Zoom call like we are now for this podcast, and you can either talk out your systems and processes, having recorded it and also transcribing it, while the VA is the recipient of that information. So you're basically teaching them as if they're an employee in that role. And then you can look at that transcript later, or just have your VA arrange it in a way that really makes sense, and then look at it and say, okay, are these the most efficient strategies? Are there too many touch points, not enough? And really think about the client's experience. But before you think about the client's experience, you have to understand what the client really needs. And I'll give you an example. I have an entertainment and event production company. And you would think that our clients really need excellent musicians, right? Or a great mentalist or a headliner, but that's not really what they want and need. They want and need to feel secure. They want and need to make sure that those people are going to show up and be their best selves. And they want and need the guests and their boss to tell them that they knocked it out of the park. They don't really want a great dance band. Right? That's just part of the process. So when you're thinking about that and you're creating the systems and processes, you have to think about what their experience will be within the moment they come into contact with your business to the end. But are those systems and processes helping get to that end goal of making them look like a rock star and feeling like one? So the transcription, that AI, and the VA, the virtual assistant, are the keys to the brain dump. All you have to do is get it out one time. Then it really would behoove you as the business owner to look at it in a really strategic way to say, oh gosh, we've been doing that over and over again, except for this one person in our company isn't doing it at all. Why aren't they doing that? Is their process better? And really thinking about that. And then once it's set, once you've got a great system, then you can unfurl it to the rest of your company and then train everybody new that comes into the organization on that. So that's the only way they know how to operate within your industry or within your business.
It's a little overwhelming to me as you started saying that. I'm like, there's so many different processes, like even in our business, right? We were just going through our invoicing, reoccurring invoices that were like, oh, wait, there's a bunch of drafts in here. What are these doing in here? So there's multiple layers. It'd be great to have a list of everything I just wrote down. You've got accounting, you've got sales, you've got delivery of your product. But then within those, there's all these little multiple layers. When we do a book, there's all these different things within delivering a book that have to be done, and looking at each of those systems. So it's creating, almost before you do the interview, creating that list. And I'm going to throw out one of our top secret weapons that you're going to get to use when they're talking to that VA and you're saying, well, have it transcribed. We use a tool for our authors called Otter. OTTER, and it does live transcription. So you get the audio and it transcribes in real time. So in case it's not perfect, and then you go back and you have it all written while you're doing it live, and the VA can highlight things in there that, oh, this is one, so that it makes it so much easier to make that outline for them.
You have to get the right VA also that is able to take something like this and then put it into a structured manifestation. I use fireflies.ai. It's similar to Otter and it's wonderful. There's so many tools out there and they're inexpensive, especially when you consider what they actually are doing for you. They're saving hours and hours of time.
For sure. So once you have this, and then you've gotten this list of things that you need for your systems and processes, sometimes you don't know how to make it better, right? Do you need someone to say, okay, this is great, but I'm not sure the best system? Like, you can put a system in place. I think you even mentioned this, but it might not be the best system.
Mhm.
So how do you go about finding out and fine tuning it to make it the right system and process?
You have to listen to your employees, but also make sure that they know that you want to hear from them. And I'll give you an example of this. For a couple of years, we had this very sophisticated system that I built within Salesforce that allowed us to do that ridiculous number of things. And in an all hands meeting, one of my salespeople said something to the effect of, I called all the artists on the morning of their event, or she emailed them. And I said, why on earth are you doing that? And she said, I want to make sure they understand what is expected of them and that they show up. I'm like, that is not going to work. I don't want you to have to do that on a Saturday morning, or I don't want you to have to do anything that's repeatable manually. So we set up an SMS texting that would go out to the artist that said, hello, Gabriel, you have a gig tonight, and all the information. And then we also took it one step further and sent out a text at a certain cadence in the morning, 8 o'clock for the client, not 8 o'clock for the artist. It said, hello, Jen, we're so excited to do the event with you. Expect our team at whatever. It was all parsed out and automated. Nobody had to ever do an email or a call again to an artist.
Yeah, automating your systems is like that second step, right? So after you know
Yeah.
what your systems and processes are, how do we automate that so we're not manually doing everything all the time?
We automate every single low touch, repeatable thing in our business. And so you asked earlier, how do you know that they're the most important and do they work? You have to give your employees permission to tell you when they get stuck or when they're doing something repeatable, and allow them to pull your company forward and give them the kudos out loud to everyone for fixing that. You also have to listen to your vendors and your clients. They will let you know when they're having a pain point with you. And instead of discarding it, you have to take into consideration, okay, is it just this one person and their special personality? Or is it a few people and they all are saying the same things? That's a pretty good indication that you need to fix something.
That is so true. Gosh, because I like the feedback that you're going to give when you're doing that. And then what's the next step after systems and processes? So you're getting the systems down, which I understand because we asked ourselves that question too. What can we automate? What new automation can we add? So you start to automate, you get the processes and systems, and then you're researching to find the correct automation and testing and measuring that and see how that works. So how does that transcend into dollars and cents for a company? And what's the next step maybe behind systems and processes?
Well, once you get your system and process down, and by the way, it's down for a certain amount of time. And then as you scale and grow, you will have to adjust them. It doesn't work for $1 million company to $10 million company. There are going to be changes that will happen, many changes throughout. So documenting them in a place where everyone knows where to find them. And for a long time, we used Google Docs. There is nothing wrong with Google Docs with attached to different links to other Google Docs and YouTube training. That is an incredible asset for any company. If you want to up level, there's many different things you can do, but there are two software companies that I love. One we're using for entire productions. It's called Trainual. And the other one is pretty new and looks promising. It's called Ask Arvo, ARVO. And, having that in a central located place. And if anyone asks a question, how do I do this? All I say in our Slack channel is check the onboarding training document. And when I train new people, I say to them, listen, this is going to be overwhelming. And in 3 to 6 months, when you have a question on how to do something, perhaps you haven't had to do it on your ramp up. Always think, go to the onboarding document, go to the onboarding document. So we really and of course they can ask questions of the group, but it's not fair to the group to be answering questions that can be easily found on the onboarding and training document.
I love that, because then you're directing them to the same place. Everyone knows where it can be found.
Yes.
And you're not trying to search for something. I don't know how much time is lost by companies searching, even for a Google Doc, or it used to be in a file folder system, but now everything's online. And if you don't have folders and on your computers, then you need some help.
So the reason why these systems and processes and automations and where you put them and how accessible they are, why that leads to scaling and growing is you're replacing, now you're not firing people, but you're replacing whole human beings, whole jobs by doing these things. So you don't have to add headcount. And then if you open up, let's say for us, we're in San Francisco, we opened up an office in LA and one in London. And our systems and processes worked there just like they worked here. There was no hiccups. However, let me just tell you, when you start a company in a different country, there's a whole headache full of hiccups that go with just the legalities of doing that. But as far as the internal systems and processes, some of the only things we had to change were like making sure that we could flip between US dollars and pounds or sterling and time zones. So little tweaks, but you can see how you can start to really build on what you've created with just those things in place.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that, we love to say, oh, we did it, it's one and done, and we never have to do it again. Okay, it's done, but you're like, no, you have to revisit this. How often should you be reviewing your processes and systems, and maybe even going through the same process with the VA to walk through all of them again?
I really think it depends on what kind of business you have, how intricate the systems and processes are, how many people you have, how many locations. I would say for me, Entire Productions, I don't do like an annual audit, because any week somebody will come up with this is broken. Why are we doing this way? I tell my team, I can't afford not to know what pain points you're feeling. Ours is always being tweaked. I'm a different kind of entrepreneur. I'm a different kind of CEO. I'm very much not micromanagement. And I really very much rely on my team to pull the company forward. And not only do I rely on them, but I let them take the credit for it. So I have a little bit different organization. I'm not super special by any means, but my ego has left the building, which is really important as an entrepreneur, is to let go, delegate, do the top 3 things or 5 things that you're just excellent at and that you love, and have everybody else do everything else. And I will say for the last 2 years, I have been working on my business, Entire Productions, and not in it day to day. I'm not managing people. I'm not working with clients one-on-one. I'm not responsible for more than 30% of what's going on. Anyway, I'm working about 20% of my time on that core business, which has allowed me to create all these new business segments in a completely different, this is actually an LLC called Omnipreneur LLC, which houses many different new things.
I think that's a great note to end on, just that wrap up.
Okay,
where
cool.
can people go to find you and get more information?
You can go to natashamiller.com.
Love that. We'll put that in the show notes. And they can go, and can they also go on YouTube and see you perform? And I want to hear your violin and your voice. That sounds beautiful.
Yes, I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. Just, Natasha Miller, and then vocalist. If you say violinist, some things will come up. But in the last few CDs that I've played, I am a side musician on my own record where I'm just playing like in a symphony form. I'm not like a fiddler or I'm not doing any major solos on my records.
More jazz. I love that. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you, Natasha, for coming today. Some really super great content. I hope it was useful to everyone. And remember, if you're looking to write a book, contact us at Elite Online Publishing. We guarantee you'll be a #1 bestseller. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.